Hello, I'm Chris Merritt, and we're here with Jerry Pecht and Tricia Hobson from Norton Rose Fulbright, and we're here to discuss the future of litigation in this country in the light of the Productivity Commission's report on access to justice. Guys, it recommends a couple of very interesting things. The one that I'm really interested in is contingency fees. Jerry, you're out here from Houston. What's been the American experience with contingency fees?
Well, of course, we allow contingency fees in the United States, and as a result of that, there's been a proliferation of litigation, and primarily on the class action side, which has resulted in some very large claims against companies. Some of the experience has been good, some of the experience has been bad.
So, what do you think we're likely to face in Australia?
Well, I think one of the differences with our system, of course, is that we have the lose pay system, which is different to the United States. I certainly think that if we have contingency fees, we will see an increase in competition in the class action space in particular. At the moment, we have the unique system here of the litigation funders, and which you don't have in the United States. And they've filled a void, if you like, because of the lack of contingency fees here. I think that we might see a potential split in the plaintiff bar, where you have the more sophisticated, bigger plaintiff law firms using the contingency fee system to bankroll their class actions, and you might see a bar that works with the funders. But either way, I think we'll see an increase in the business approach to class actions. It won't be an explosion of the US style, but I think we'll see some movement and some increase.
So what's that going to mean for business and for directors?
Well, I think every business in Australia is very conscious of class actions in this day and age, and they're conscious of the cases that have been brought in the continuous disclosure space. That's been a real fertile area for firms of late. I think directors and officers, we've seen a lot of litigation over the years, not as much in the class action space, but perhaps there's some developments in the US which might point in that direction, because there's no doubt that the law firms and funders look to the United States for what might be coming in the future.
So are we likely to inherit some of the things that are, some of the patterns that are already apparent in America?
Well, I think that to some degree you will. I think that some of the cases that have been successful in the United States, those types of cases are cases that if you're going to put your own money into it, whether it's through a contingent fee arrangement or through a funder arrangement, you're going to want to pursue the cases that have been successful. And you could look at those cases in the United States that have been successful and bring those types of cases here if you're on the plaintiff side. So you may see more of those, more of the plaintiff's lawyers following the U.S. Cases that have been successful.
So continuous disclosure sounds as though it's going to get renewed focus.
Well, there's a lot of continuous disclosure type cases in the United States of all different sorts, and you know, I suspect that your plaintiff's lawyers are going to be looking at those cases and picking out the good ones and bringing them here and pursuing them.
So should business be worried about this?
I think they need to be aware of it, and they need to be cautious of it, and they need to be preparing for it. I think that it is something which every general counsel team in big business has an eye on, and I think rightly so. I think that the introduction of contingency fees will scare some people because of the US experience, but if you do look at our system, the loser pay, as I said, and also the solicitor's duties in terms of signing off on pleadings, I don't think we need to fear a US explosion, but they do need to concentrate on the potential risks there for their business.
But it does sound as though the quantum of litigation is set to increase.
I think it's inevitable, in my view. I think it's particularly with the litigation funding environment, it's become big business. And if you look at the stats for some of the funders like IMF, very lucrative business. If you look at Maurice Blackburn looking to start their own funding business, it's not hard to see that they're looking at it as a business and will continue to do so. So
the other plaintiff firms should probably, well, put it this way, do you think they will follow that pattern? Do you think the plaintiff firms will take advantage of contingency fees to get behind Maurice Blackburn and do the same thing?
I think there'll be a certain subset that are able to. and there'll be some that won't be able to set up the model, because, and I think, Jerry, maybe you're better equipped to answer this, about the level of class actions you need in order to fund that sort of model is actually quite significant.
The successful plaintiffs' class action firms in the United States have a body of cases, a large body of cases. And so if you have 100 cases and 10 of them are successful, you can make a good business model out of it. If you're only pursuing 2 or 3 and you lose one of those, it can be very devastating to your firm. You have to have a certain size and certain number of cases in order to make the model a success.
So it sounds like the economics, not just of the general economy of business, but of the legal profession also might be set for change.
A lot of this is driven by lawyer economics on the plaintiff side, and how they can make money.
Okay, look, I think that's a good point to finish on. We've been talking to Jerry Peck from Houston and Tricia Hobson from Sydney.